Hi, I'm Max Hawker, Personal Advisor in Croydon Council's Leaving Care team. You are watching Former Relevant, the YouTube channel for care leavers. On today's episode, we're going to be looking at Universal Credit, the benefit system currently being rolled out across the UK, but has been active in Croydon for a few years now. The video is going to be divided into three separate parts. The first part will be looking at how you actually make an application for Universal Credit in the first place. The second part will be looking at how you use your online account. And the third part will be looking at some of the more common errors or issues you may experience and what to do about them. So, without further ado, let's get on. Universal Credit came into Croydon in 2014, I believe it was, and basically it replaces job seekers allowance, income support, housing benefit and some of the other benefit payments. What we can see here on this website is eligibility and how to claim. You can notice at the top what the actual website address is. Now, when you reach the age of 18, so long as you are either British born or have status in the UK, you will be making a claim for Universal Credit. And as you can see, what I'm doing here is I'm setting up a Universal Credit account. So you'll be creating your username, your password, and you'll be asked for answers to some security questions as well. Now, don't worry too much, because when you do turn 18, you'll be given an appointment with Croydon's income maximisation team, and they'll be able to help you with all this. However, I thought it would be good for you to familiarise yourself with seeing exactly what does happen. So here we go, the security questions. All of this is information that you'll have to write down somewhere and remember, because you'll need all this to be able to get into your Universal Credit account. Okay, so I'm just inputting my details here. If it were you, you'd be putting yours in, obviously. And all of this will be necessary to make a claim in the first instance. But at first it just needs you to provide your basic information. Okay. And you're given a code that you have to get from your email. Okay, so once you've retrieved the code from your email account and entered it in, you'll be taken through to the next stage, which is putting in your home address. As you can see, I'm just putting down my workplace, so this isn't where I live. Once you've done that, it says you've created your account and you have 28 days in which to make a claim. So let's look at what happens after that. Okay, so we've had a look at how to set up an account, but how do we use it? How do we navigate it? What do all those funny buttons mean? Let's have a look. So, once you've created your account, you can sign in at the above web address. You type in your user access details, and you come in and it says account created. You click make a claim, and then most likely you'll be putting no, I'm single, and claiming as a single person, and then you're actually through to the account page. This is how it initially looks, and it does change later on. Here's your journal, where you'll be able to communicate with the DWP, i.e. the job centre. You'll send and receive messages here, so it's an important place. Get used to it. And as you can see, there's a history of the account, but if we go to to-do list, it gives you all the things that you need to do before you can make your claim live. So I'm going to do a couple of them. Obviously I'm not going to make a full claim here because I'm not making a claim for Universal Credit to begin with. But this is an example of what you'll have to do. So bank account details, your address, all the details they need to help process your claim. So at this stage we have to wave goodbye to our dummy account, because if we go any further we will in fact be making a claim, and I don't want to do that. However, we're switching over to some still images of actual live accounts. When you log into your account, this is the screen that you will see. So there is a home tab, a to-do list, and a journal. So under the home tab, we can see when our next payment is due. We can report a change of circumstances, perhaps if we change address or if we update our mobile phone number. Remember, the job centre staff are not psychic. If you do have a new number and they're trying to get through to you on your old number, then that's probably going to create some problems with your claim. Also under the home tab, you can view your payments and you can view your commitments as well. So if you go to the to-do list, as we can see in front of us, you will be given a list of any outstanding tasks. If there are no outstanding tasks, there will be a big grey tick, which is what you want to see. If there are outstanding tasks, it might well be holding up you receiving your first or subsequent payment. And that means it's a task that you really need to get on and do. So for example, here we can see one of the more common ones, a commitments review. This is when you have to attend an actual appointment, and this is what the screen will look like when you get this. It gives you your date, your time, and the job centre that you're meant to be going to. If you now move over to the Journal tab, which is the third and final tab on your account screen, you will see a complete historical record of everything that's gone in with your claim. There could be messages there from job centre staff that you might need to pay attention to, because sometimes they ask you to do things and you need to look in your journal to make sure you know what you're doing. You can actually write to the job centre staff as well if you have a query or if you need to tell them something. But also any other activity that is done. So for example, if you remember when I said completing a change of circumstances, if you say want to change your address and you make that change, it will be reflected in your journal as something that's actually happened on your claim. So your journal really is a complete record of everything that is happening with your claim. We're going to have a quick look now at doing a journal entry, again in still images. But if you click on the green button that says add a journal entry, you will now see options for stating what your entry for your journal is going to be about. As you can see, the categories are fairly wide-ranging and fairly self-explanatory. So for our example, we're going to say that we can't attend an appointment. So we click on an appointment and then we click on next. What we then have is the option to add an entry in free text. So for the purposes of this, I've simply said that I'll be unable to attend an appointment and I'm asking for it to be rescheduled for later in the week. Again, it's pretty simple to do, but here it is just for you to see exactly what happens. Okay, finally, let's have a look at some of the more common issues that you might experience with Universal Credit. There are unfortunately a number, but don't despair, we can sort them out. So, although there can unfortunately be a number of issues that can occur with Universal Credit, we're only going to look at 3 of the more common ones. The first is when you are paid the full sum of your Universal Credit. Now, what I mean by this is typically you would get a living allowance and you would get a rental allowance, and these are the 2 constituent parts of Universal Credit. Unfortunately, sometimes all of it can be paid to you, which ideally isn't what we want to happen. If you go into your payments and you ever see this, where it says your payment this month is £998 or thereabouts, then it probably means you're receiving the rental money as well. If you're receiving the rental money on top of your living allowance, it's up to you to pay that to the landlord. Alternatively, you can speak to your worker about getting a UC47 form done. Now, before your eyes glaze over, that will basically mean that your rental allowance doesn't go to you but goes directly to your landlord, which makes things a whole lot easier. Now, if we have a look at further details, you can see exactly what I mean. So we've got the standard allowance of universal credit for a single individual, which is £251.77. That is the money you will be budgeting on for the month, which I'm afraid isn't a great deal. It equates to about £57 a week. So if you try to keep to about that each week, then you should be okay. But you can also see the housing payment here, and that's the rent. Now, £746.37 is the local housing allowance for part of Croydon, and that's why on this account that amount of money is being received. However, these two payments are being put together and sent to you as an individual, instead of it being separated, with the standard allowance going to you and the housing allowance going to the landlord. Again, if you speak to your worker about getting a UC 47 form done, this can be amended and you won't have to worry about getting extra money into your account which you're not able to use. Okay, the next issue we're looking at is when you don't have a national insurance number, because in short this means you're not going to get paid. If you experience this issue, and if you see a message similar to what is being seen on the screen right now, you need to contact your worker immediately, because they will be able to talk to the income maximisation team who work within Croydon Council, and they will help you resolve the problem. Now, I won't go into all the details, but if you were born in the UK, you are unlikely to experience this problem. However, if you have made a claim for asylum and you have an outstanding in-time application for further leave to remain, but you do not have a national insurance number, it's possible that you're going to encounter some problems when you make a claim for benefits. Now, I know that was quite a lot to swallow, and I hope you understand. Replay it if you need to. But in short, if you do not have a national insurance number, you are not going to be paid your universal credit, even if you are allowed to claim for universal credit. So as I said, if you experience this issue, make sure you speak to your worker immediately. The final issue we're looking at is when the DWP, or the job centre, do not understand the rules that apply to a care leaver. So, there are a few of them, and one of them, which we're looking at here, is when you, as a care leaver, are in a full-time course of education. So, for example, you might be studying ESOL, or Health and Social Care, at college, and the job centre is still asking you to find full-time work. Now, I won't read through all the regulations on the screen, but if you quote these regulations on your journal, you should be able to get past this problem. Otherwise, you're going to be asked to come in for continuous work search interviews at the job centre while you're trying to study and while you're not looking for work. One of the other issues that affects care leavers is that waiting days do not apply to you. So usually after someone has made a claim for universal credit, there will be a 7-day gap before your claim is considered to be live and for your pay to be backdated. But if you're a care leaver, your pay will be backdated to the very day that you made the initial claim. Additionally, as a care leaver, you are entitled to the 1-bedroom rate of local housing allowance as opposed to the shared rate. Now, this is a crucial thing to note, because, for example, with Croydon, the shared room rate of the local housing allowance is around £347, whereas the single room rate, or the 1-bedroom rate, is around, well, somewhere between £724 and £746 a month. Now, as a care leaver, aged 18, 19, 20 or 21, you are entitled to claim the single bedroom rate of local housing allowance, and that means, in short, you will get more money for your housing allowance payments from Universal Credit. This means yet you can afford to look for a better class of property as opposed to receiving the shared room rate as any other 18, 19, 20 or 21-year-old would, and having to look for a room budgeting at around £350 a month. So these are three key issues that sometimes the job centre staff overlook and need to be addressed either by you, your worker, or the income maximisation team. Well, there we have it. Universal Credit in a nutshell. You've seen some of the positives, you've seen some of the negatives. I hope this video will help you have a better relationship with Universal Credit yourself. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Former Relevant.